was Radio Free Albemuth. I saw that on Netflix. Now, this was a film that was in post-production hell, as they call it. It ran out of money. He ended up raising more money on Indiegogo or some sort of crowdsourcing type of tool like that. And I highly recommend it. It is John Allen Simon wrote the screenplay based on a Philip K. Dick novel. And it's very interesting in that it centers around a character who feels he's getting messages from this thing they call Veilus. And I forgot what Veilus stands for. It's an acronym for some sort of intelligence in space. But the setting of the film is in an America where there's a president who has been in office for 5 terms, and it's a very authoritarian type, almost Soviet Union-esque / fascist type of environment. And the best science fiction always warns its reader or its viewer where you don't want to go. The best writers, not only are they able to fathom where we may want to go, but it's also warning where you don't want to go. Frank Herbert is excellent at that. Philip K. Dick is another one. And, of course, my personal favorite, A.A. Attanasio, delves into the area of mixing physics with metaphysics. And that comes into play a lot here, too, with Philip K. Dick. Now, he was a controversial figure. There is a documentary on his life on YouTube, and I do forget the name of it, but if you just type Philip K. Dick documentary into the world's second largest search engine, you'll find it. One of the most interesting actors today, Shea Wiggum, plays Phil, who is essentially Philip K. Dick. And I forgot the names of the other actors. Let's see here. One of my favorite actors today, Shea Wiggum, plays Phil, who is essentially Philip K. Dick. And he is complemented by Jonathan Scarf, who I'd not seen before, but you look up on IMDb, you can see he's got a load of work behind him. And the two play off each other very well in this building of paranoia in this world they live in, where free thought and free thinking is frowned upon, and anything kind of said against the state is frowned upon. Well, the main character essentially receives a message from this, essentially it's a satellite orbiting Earth, some kind of vast intelligence, and it guides him to be in the record industry. And essentially the idea of the movie is they're creating subliminal messages in this hit song to disseminate to people, to essentially overthrow or be a subversive element against this government. Now they get caught, but I don't want to give away the whole story because it's good enough. Now technically there were a couple technical issues in the film. There's some camera work here or there I wasn't happy with, things I wouldn't have done. And there's some visual effects that maybe could have been held out a little longer to get something a little more professional done. One scene in particular, a book fell into this woman's hand, and it just didn't look good. It could have been a little better, a lot better. But other than the moments of the kind of Sci-Fi Channel type of visual effects, the overall dialogue, the screenplay itself is excellent, the way the characters interact. And I really liked Shea Wiggum ever since Boardwalk Empire. I wanted to find out who he was. And then again in American Hustle, I really liked the small part he had. So he's one of these guys that always play someone different. You really never know what you're going to get with him, and I always appreciate that in an actor. So overall, it's got a 5.8 rating, about a 3-star rating on IMDb. I'm going to go ahead and give it about 4 stars, and probably about 5 stars for the script. Overall execution, maybe only 4, just because a couple technical issues. But is it worth watching? Hell yeah. And the reason it is, I'm going to go back to what I said earlier about the best science fiction being a warning about where we don't want to go. And it's a very good commentary on where we are today as a society, because when you have, essentially, you've got the Republican National Convention coming out and blatantly saying that, yeah, even though Donald Trump is winning, he might not be the candidate, so your votes don't count. And they're basically telling you that with a smirk on your face. Now, I don't agree with 75% of what Trump says, but the fact that we live in the United States of America and the tried and true practices of the system that we have in place has absolutely crumbled into this authoritative, dictatorial method where people aren't even complaining about it, yet they're complaining about minutia and sound bites that this individual makes. On the other hand, you've got the kind of almost alternate reality of the Democratic National Convention, where Bernie Sanders clearly draws more people to his conventions by a factor of about 10 to 1, or his rallies. And yet, Hillary has beat him in several key states, and yet that reality is not being challenged. And it's funny that back in the 70s, Devo, D-E-V-O, had an album that started out with what they call General Boy, was a character. It was actually Mark and Bob Mothersbaugh's father. And he talked about the World War III will be for the human mind. And sometimes you just got to wonder how people, I guess artists, I read something years ago about how art precedes science. And I guess in some instances it precedes reality, because sure enough, here we are in 2016, and the ninnies and the twits seem to be in charge, and that's stolen from Devo. It's just amazing how all of those ideas come together in Radio Free Albemuth. So if you are into thought-provoking science fiction and don't think you need to just succumb to what the mass media is pushing down your throat, check it out. It's a thinking person's film. It's not, I went and saw Deadpool, and I went and saw Batman vs. Superman. Deadpool, pure entertainment. Batman vs. Superman, there was some interesting things that movie said if you're looking for it, other than just the entertainment value. But just to go ahead and end it real quick, my favorite filmmaker is Stanley Kubrick, and his films are rife with things to say. He makes a comment in every one of his films. He has something to say. After his first 2 films were just films, but Paths to Glory and on, he's saying something. And I think Radio Free Albemuth definitely says something, and I highly recommend it. Thanks for your time.